Gentlemen, girls and boys and assembled company from the side of the M11 just off the M25. Welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe, and it should have been me today, but I should have been about 100 miles further up the road, but that hasn't happened on account of the fact my very fine camper has given up the ghost, and I'm sitting in this aesthetic place. I'll show you the traffic. Traffic. There's an ambulance coming by. Something exciting is happening to somebody. So welcome whoever's there and whoever's listening. But I'm, for the moment, going to hand over to Claire and Donald. Before I do that, next Friday is Sarah Lloyd Winder. Before that, we've got our worldwide story round on Sunday at 7 o'clock in the evening, and our young international tellers at 5 o'clock, and Sarah Lloyd Winder at 6 o'clock next Friday. But right now, we're handing over to Donald Nelson and Claire Goodall, and if we're lucky, Baden might even join in for a story. It's going to be a party tonight, unfortunately, a party to which I can't attend. Okay, see you all, bye-bye.
Well, hello. I take it it's me first then.
It's you, Donald. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Right, this is a song. Well, just now, I don't know about the rest of the world, but England is getting lots and lots of lovely hot weather. And in Scotland, it's a bit changeable. We've got really hot weather, torrential rain, really hot weather, torrential rain, and the weeds in my garden. Love it. So here is a song by a man called Mark McGinn, and it's called Little Ticks of Time, and it's about the cycle of rain. And it goes a bit like this. The little ticks of time keep on talking, talking, talking. Tick, 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 talking all the way. The little ticks of time, no reason, no rhyme. They just tick, 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 tock the time away. The sun picks up little drops of water in her hands as she rolls across the sky. When her hands are full and out, she makes a little cloud and sends a little cloud drifting by. The little ticks of time keep on talking, talking, talking. Tick, 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 talking all the day. The little ticks of time, no reason, no rhyme. They just tick, 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 tock the time away. The little cloud goes drifting through heaven. He has a little task he must fulfill. He makes little water balls and gently lets them fall as raindrops down beyond the hill. The little ticks of time keep on talking, 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 tick, 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 talking all the day. The little ticks of time, no reason, no rhyme. Tick, 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 talk the time away. The raindrops fall upon the hilltop. Each one stops to say hello, and their faces fairly beam as they make a little stream, and the little stream goes trickling down below. The little ticks of time keep on talking, talking, talking. Tick, 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 talking all the day. The little ticks of time, they no reason, no rhyme. Just tick, 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 talking time away. The stream meets another and another, and they come upon another running free. And they gurgle as they run, and they all become as one. Mighty river flowing to the sea. The little ticks of time keep on talking, talking, talking. Tick, 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 talking all the day. No reason, no rhyme. They just tick, tock the time away. The little takes the time. Keep on talking. Tick, talking all the way. The little takes of time. No reason, no rhyme. They just tick, tock the time away. Thank you. Little ticks of time. And I think we're due more rain tonight, but I am heading down to Essex next week, so hopefully it'll still be lovely and sunny. Anyway, I said I would do a poem as well. Now, this is a poem I wrote because I was reading a thing about hedge shrinkers. Now, if you don't know what a hedge shrinker is, there were tribes around the world, might still be, who would capture people, chop off their heads, and then shrink them down until they were about that size. You might have seen some in Harry Potter. Until about that size, and then they would wear them as trophies round their waist or round their neck. And the more shrunken heads they had, the more shrunken heads they wore, then the more powerful a chief they were. And this is a story that I got inspired by because my uncle had one of those heads. And he had it in a box, he kept it in a box, and he lived with my grandmother at the time, and my grandmother hated the thing. So I don't know what happened to it. It eventually just disappeared out of the house. But the poem goes like this. My uncle has a shrunken head in a box below his bed. He keeps it as a souvenir of when he was an engineer. Of when he was an engineer upon the railways far away from Chittagong to Mandalay. The story goes, or so I'm told, that when he was young, brave and bold, while speeding down the track one day, he spotted something in the way. He slammed the brakes on, ladies screamed, sparks flew up through clouds of steam, men said, by God, and children wailed. The wheels glowed hot upon the rails, the funnel poured out thick black smog. He saw it was a pile of logs placed neatly there to stop the train by bandits bad and quite insane. And when the train was standing still, the bandits poured down from the hill, screaming, cursing, waving guns. My uncle then began to run, shouted out to lock the doors and lie down flat upon the floor. The bandits, now beside the track, suddenly stopped, quite taken aback. For my uncle stood with upheld hands and set a challenge to the band. I'll fight your biggest man, he said. A fight till one of us is dead. Should your man win, you kill us all. But I take the train, should your man fall. The bandit chief thought for a while. His ugly face cracked to a smile. I have the very man for you. All stand back and let him through. The band of brigands broke their ranks, and at the back a human tank stood 8 feet tall and just as wide. A scimitar hung by his side, a lot of brawn but not much brain. A ruthless killer all the same. Then a cheer went up when the leader said, when you've been killed, they'll shrink your head. It will be worn in pride of place, with others hung around my waist. My uncle's heart beat like a drum. Must find a weapon or I'm done. An overwhelming sense of doom. All he could find was a broom. Tied onto the guard's van door, he searched, but there was nothing more. Excuse me a minute. The giant drew his sword and laughed. He looked a master of his craft. His swishing sword cut through the air, the surprising style and flair. My uncle thought, I'm doomed to die. I may as well give it a try. So he swung the broom and held it aloft, and the nail fell out, and the head flew off, and it hit the giant to his surprise, right smack bang between the eyes. And to the shock of all around, the giant crashed down to the ground. One single blow upon the head had rendered this Goliath dead. A hush descended on the crowd. And then the leader called out loud, you killed the greatest man I had. There was none so bold and none so bad. One single blow and he was down. Now you must wear the giant's crown. You threaten me my uncle said, that you would wear my shrunken head. I don't want to wear his crown, but I'll take his head shrunken down. The chief then shouted, cut it off and bring it shrunken in a box. And that's the story Uncle told of when he was young, brave and bold, and how the bandits left the train, never to be seen again. And though he said the head was proof, my auntie once told me the truth. He never fought the giant thief. He's been no further east than Leith. He found the head, my auntie says, down behind a seat one day, for he was a sort of railway man, a conductor on a Glasgow tram. Thank you. Thank you. I wrote that poem many, many years ago, and I still keep forgetting the words. Anyway, that's my little bit for just now. Hopefully, oh, there's Mike. There's Mike there. Can I hand over to you, Claire? You need to unmute.
I'm unmuted. That's all from being on the phone. Thanks, keep me a sec. Yep. So the story I'm going to do, because the poor people watching this, I was only here 2 weeks ago. Thinking, not her again. She's back.
Yeah, I am back. You were great. So,
I am back in a beautiful garden. As you said, it's a beautiful sunny day here, and I'm here sitting surrounded by flowers. The cat kind of looking past me, birds and fish. And I think I'm going to do another story which I haven't done for a very long time. And this is a Jack story, because everyone loves a good Jack story. And Jack wasn't lazy. It was more a case that he needed guidance. And if nobody told him what to do, he'd do what he fancied. What he most fancied around was kind of sitting around taking it easy. I mean, it's an easy thing to do if you're Jack. But this didn't please his mother. This didn't please his mother at all. Because she said, I'm working all the time. I'm working hard. And you're just sitting around. What are you doing to help the family? We're not so rich as we can have you sitting around doing nothing. You need to go out and get some work. And Jack, if all things were the same, he'd rather stayed home and sat around and taken it easy, but all things weren't the same. His mother said he needed to go out and get some work. So Jack had to go out and get some work. So the first person he ran, because where Jack lived, there was a lot of work going, a lot of farmers. And the first one he went to was this farmer. And the farmer, when Jack said, do you need some work doing? The farmer said, oh, I always need some work doing. And Jack said, well, I don't really know what to do, but if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. And it turned out that Jack might not know what to do, but he was very, very good at following instructions. As long as you told him what to do, he would go on until it was finished. It's only if he kind of finished a job, he wouldn't go and see if there was anything else needing. He'd kind of assume that if you wanted him to do anything else, you'd ask. But this farmer, realizing this about Jack very quickly, as soon as Jack had finished one task, he gave him another. And Jack found he was working really, really hard. And the farmer was really impressed because although Jack was mainly used to sitting around, he turned out to be quite an industrious worker. And so at the end of the day, the farmer gave Jack a bright, shiny coin. And Jack hadn't seen money before. I mean, there wasn't really much money around. It was unusual to get money. And he was looking at it, amazed as he walked home, had this piece of coin in his hand, looking how it shone in the sun as he walked home. And he was so busy focused on this coin as he was walking, he tripped. And the coin fell into the river and washed away down there. And try as Jack might, he couldn't find it. And so he had to go home, and his mother instantly said, so what happened? Did you get a job? And Jack said, yes, I got a job. And did you work? I worked very hard. The farmer was very pleased. And did the farmer pay you? Said his mother. Oh, yes, he gave me a coin. And I looked at it all the way back, and I was so busy looking at it, I tripped, and it went into the river. It went into the river, said his mother. That's because you should have put the coin in your pocket. Oh, said Jack, is that what you do with your wages? Yes, that's what you do with your wages. Oh, said Jack, oh, I'll remember that for tomorrow. Oh, said his mother, you better get another job tomorrow, and this time put whatever you get, put your wages safely in your pocket. That way it won't fall in the river. Okay, said Jack. And so the next day, because he said he would, because Jack was an amenable young man, Jack went off. And this time he went to a dairy farmer. And once again, he said to the dairy farmer, do you need any work? And the dairy farmer said, I've always got work. And again, Jack said, well, I don't know what to do, but if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. And again, the farmer got the idea of Jack. And every time Jack had finished a task, the farmer would give him another one. And he worked really hard, and the dairy farmer was really pleased with him. So he gave him this big, big jug of milk. And Jack thought, well, yesterday I held the wages in my hand and I looked at my trips and they went in the river. So today I'll do what my mother said. I'll put it in my pocket. So he took the jug and he went glug, 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 pouring it all into his pocket. And he wondered, was he supposed to have a wet leg? And he went home walking rather awkwardly, shaking his leg because it wasn't very nice having water pouring down your leg. And he got home and his mum said, did you get another job? He said, yes, I got another job. It was a dairy farmer this time. And I did as you said. He gave me some milk, so I poured it in my pocket. You poured the milk in your pocket? I poured the milk in my pocket. I'm not sure that worked properly because I've really got a wet leg. How'd you get the milk? Oh, you don't do that with milk, said his mother. When someone gives you a jug of milk, you put it on your head. Oh, said Jack, you put your wages on your head. You put the jug of milk on your head. Oh dear. Well, I'll remember that tomorrow. Yes, you will, said his mother. You'll go out tomorrow, you'll get another job, and this time you'll bring back your wages. Until the next day, Jack, being an amenable guy and realising that although he'd had 2 hard days' work, he hadn't brought anything back to help his mother. So off he went, and this time he went to a dairy farmer, to a cheesemaker. And again, he said, do you have any work? And the cheesemaker said, oh, I've always got work. And Jack said, well, I don't know anything about cheese making, but if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. And the cheesemaker did. And as soon as Jack had finished one task, the cheesemaker would give him another. And so Jack worked really hard all day. And the cheesemaker was really pleased because Jack turned out, if you give him good instructions, as an industrious worker. And at the end of the day, the cheesemaker said, you've worked really hard. Here's your wages. Here's a big cheese. And Jack said, oh, that looks tasty. And he thought, right, on the first day, I held my wages in my hand and I tripped and it fell into the river. So my mum said to put it in my pocket. But when on the second day I had the milk, I put that in my pocket and that didn't right. So she said, put it on your head. So I should do what my mum says. I should put the cheese on my head. And that's what he did. But it was a really hot day. And the cheesemaker was further from Jack's house than the other places. And the sun, like today, beat down. And the soft cheese melted into Jack's hair and down his shoulders and down his clothes. And so by the time he got home, he was basically wearing a cheese coat. And his mother said, what are you wearing? And Jack said, it's my wages. I put it on my head, like you said. I was paid in cheese. But I'm not sure I want to eat it now. And Jack thought, oh, Jack, you don't put cheese on your head. You wrap it in paper, tie a string around it. Oh, said Jack. Oh, right. Oh, I'll have to remember that this time. Oh, all right then. Tomorrow I'll get it right. And the next day, Jack went off again to work because he was beginning to feel a bit guilty. That was several days now he'd worked and he'd still not brought anything home to please his mother. And this time he went to a miller. And he went to the miller, and the miller, he said, have you got any work? And the miller said, oh, I've always got work. And Jack says, well, I don't know what to do, but if you tell me, I'm sure to carry it out. And the miller, just as all the others had, noticed that Jack, if you told him what to do, carried it out. So he gave him one task, and as soon as Jack finished that, he gave him another. And so Jack was kept busy all day, and the miller was very impressed. And he said, you're a really hard worker, Jack. You work really hard. I'm going to give you something special. I'm going to give you my best mouser. Your best what? My best mouser, said Jack. My finest cat for catching mice, because being a miller, there's a lot of grain around here, and if you don't keep the mice down, the mice eat all of the grain. This cat is the best mouser you'll ever come across. Oh, said Jack. Well, I've got to work out how to get this mouser home, because we've got a problem with mice eating things. On the first day, I had a coin and I held it in my hand, but I tripped and it went into the river. So my mother said I should put things on my head, put my pocket. And so I put it in my pocket. And the next day, I got milk and I put that in my pocket, but that wasn't right. My mum said I should have put it on my head in the jug. But the next day when I got cheese, I did what she said. I put it on my head and it melted. And so she said, what I should do with my wages is wrap them in paper and tie them up. So that's what I'll do, because that's what I've been given as my wages. So that's what Jack did. Jack took the cat and Jack wrapped the paper round the cat and tied it up with string. And the cat didn't like this at all. I mean, this is a mouser. This is a semi-feral cat. It's not used to being wrapped in paper and tied with string. It burst through the paper, it burst through the string, and it ran off. Oh, said Jack, when he got back to his mother's. I was given a cat, and I did as you said. I wrapped it in paper and tied it with string. But the cat didn't like it very much, and it clawed through the paper and it ran off. Oh, said his mother. Oh, said his mother. You don't do that with cats. Cats don't like being wrapped in paper and tied up with string. Really, they don't. What you should have done is taken the string, wrapped it round its neck, and led it home. And we could have really done with a good mouser. Oh, said Jack. Well, tomorrow I'll get it right. So off went Jack again on the next day, and he was feeling really guilty because this had been days now and he'd worked really hard and everyone had been really pleased. But he'd not brought anything home. And he thought, today I'm going to get it right. So he went to a butcher's. He went to a butcher's and he said to the butcher, have you got any work? And the butcher said, I've always got work. And Jack said, well, I don't know what to do for a butcher, but if you tell me, I'll carry it out. And again, like the others, the butcher gave Jack work. And as soon as Jack had finished, he gave him more work. And so Jack worked really, really hard. And the butcher was impressed. He said at the end of the day, you've worked really hard. I am going to give you some of the finest meat. And he handed over this huge ham. It was so big. Jack could barely lift it. And he said, well, on the first day, when I was given my wages, it was a coin. And I looked at it and I tripped and it went into the river. So my mum said, put it in her pocket. But when I did that with the milk I got from the second day, that didn't work. And my mum said I should have put it on my head in the jug. But the next day I got cheese. When I put it on my head, it melted and nobody wanted to eat it then. And she said I should have wrapped it in paper and put string around it. But when I did that to the cat, which I got for the next day's wages, the cat didn't like it at all and threw it and ran off. And my mum said I should tie a bit of string round my wages and lead it home. And so that's what Jack did to the ham. He tied a bit of string around the ham and led it through the town, where all the town's dogs gnawed at it. To the time he got back to his mum's house, all that was left was the big gnawed bone. You did what? Said Jack's mother. Well, you said I should tie string round it and lead it home. It's a ham, said Jack's mother. It's a ham. You should have, there's a big ham from the size of the bone that's left. You should have carried that on your back. Oh, said Jack. Well, I'll get it right tomorrow. And the next day, once again, Jack went out because he was a good-mannered boy. And he thought, today I am definitely going to bring something back. And this day he went to the cattle farm. And he said to the cattle farmer, have you got any work? And the cattle farmer said, I've always got work. Jack says, well, I don't know what to do, but if you tell me, I'll carry it out. And just like all the others, the cattle farmer gave Jack work. And when he did the job, he gave him more work. And once again, Jack worked really hard. And the cattle farmer was impressed. So you are a hard worker. For the work you've done today, I'm going to give you a donkey. Now, it's an old donkey, but it still could carry a lot. There's a lot of life left in this donkey. And Jack said, all we could do with the donkey. And he said, right, now what am I going to do? On the first day, I was given a coin. I looked at the coin, and then I tripped, and it went into the river. So my mum said I should put it in my pocket. When I did that, the milk, it didn't work. She put it on your head. I did the cheese, it melted. When I wrapped it in, and then the cat didn't like being wrapped. And then she said, pour it along. But when I did that with the ham, the dogs all ate it. So she said I put it on my back. So I'm going to put the donkey on my back. Now, this donkey might have been old, but this donkey didn't appreciate being pulled onto Jack's back. And it has to be said, it shows how strong Jack was that he was able to carry a donkey on his back. And he's thinking, I'm not sure this is right, he was saying. Wah! I was going the donkey on Jack's back. And he was stumbling and strong as he was trying to pull this donkey on its back. He's got it so the donkey was back to his, and he was trying to hold on to it, and the donkey's legs was flaying. And so he very, very slowly stumbled his way back home. Now, it happened that Jack's route back home from the cattle farmer went past the Lord's castle. And it happened that the time that Jack was going past the castle, the Lord's daughter was sitting in her tower chamber, and she heard a noise. She heard a noise outside the window. She looked out, and she saw Jack carrying a donkey on his back. Now, this girl had never smiled. She had all the privileges in the world, you could say, but she was always so sad. And her father, who, as lords go, was actually not a bad man, and he certainly loved his daughter. And it broke his heart that nothing he could do, no wealth, no riches, nothing could make his daughter smile. And he'd sent out a decree that anyone who could make his daughter smile could marry her, make her laugh, make her happy, could marry her, and they would be his heir if he had no sons. And a lot of people had come to that Lord's castle. A lot of people had come doing all sorts of things, bringing jesters and jokers and all kinds of things. But nobody had been able to make his daughter laugh. And so it had gone on. And so the girl, hearing this noise, went to the window, and hearing this noise, went to the window and looked out and saw Jack with a donkey on his back. The legs flailing. And Jack stumbling left, right, left, trying to find go. And he's saying, I don't think this is the right way to bring a donkey home. And as she was watching, the sides of her mouth started going upwards. And the more she watched, the more the sides of her mouth went upwards. And the more she watched as Jack stumbled around and the donkey flailed, he's crying out, I think I need better advice about bringing home wages. The bigger her smile got, until Jack tripping and the donkey falling and then getting the donkey back, she started giggling. And then once she'd started giggling, all this laughter, all these giggles that had been hidden inside her, suddenly were bursting out. And she found she was laughing. She found she was laughing. There's a man trying to carry a donkey on his back, and he's asking for help about this isn't a way to treat donkeys. It's if he had to be learned from picking it up. Oh, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And her laughter echoed throughout the castle. And at first, what's that noise coming from the Lord's daughter's tower? It sounds like laughing. But it can't be. And the laughter reached her father. He said, that sounds like laughter coming from my daughter's room. And he went up there, and he went up slowly, carefully, frightened that just by going in, it might change what was happening. And he pushed open the door, and there was his daughter. Oh, that's the... look! Oh, look! He's gone again. Oh, no, he's tripped. No, he's not giving up. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's not giving up. He's still carrying that donkey on his back. He's determined. Oh, so funny. And the Lord looked out of the window, and there was Jack with the donkey. And the Lord said, well, I've got to keep my promise. And so he took his daughter down there where Jack was still struggling with the donkey, saying, I think this needs to be better guidance on how you get home your wages. I think there's something fundamentally wrong with how we're instructed. I was given advice about doing the job, but not how to get my wages home, because this just isn't right. And the Lord stood in front of Jack, and Jack, seeing they wanted to talk, now he was a very polite boy, let the donkey down, and the donkey was rather relieved. And the Lord said, you're Jack, aren't you? And Jack, yeah. You've made my daughter laugh. I'm sorry, said Jack, I didn't mean to. You've made my daughter laugh, said the Lord. She's never laughed before. And the daughter's still giggling. And their eyes met, Jack and the Lord's daughter. Now, Jack, he might not be the brightest, but he was a strong, handsome young man who was so sweet and kind if you just told him what to do. And Jack then told the story about what happened, and the daughter thought, a strong, handsome young man who does exactly what he's told, I think he might make quite a good husband. And so Jack and the Lord's daughter were married. And Jack was able at last to bring home wages to his mum and made sure that she was brought to the castle and lived in company. And the Lord's daughter was able to find a very happy, handsome and amenable husband. And that's my story about Jack. Oh, Donald, do you want to do another one, or should I do a quickie?
Well, but Mike's there.
Oh, yes.
You have to unmute.
That's why I did the thumbs up. Yeah, sorry, I had to go off picture because my son brought up my supper.
That's nice.
I noticed it looks very nice.
It
It was squash soup and homemade garlic bread. Very
does.
lovely. With red peppers, I think. Probably. Well, yeah, we don't seem to have a young person tonight. I don't know what's happened to our young person, old Lewis, but there we go. If it's okay, yeah, I'll tell a story, just between us. Yep, okay. It's the story of Momotaro. Yeah, it's a Japanese story. There was an old couple, and they had been poor, and then they had been rich, because the gods had sent them a dog called Shiro, a magical dog who found gold for them. And so they had become quite rich, but the Oni discovered they were rich, and the Oni came and stole their gold. And the old couple went back to being poor. They didn't mind. They were used to being poor. The man went back to chopping wood, and the wife went back to washing clothes in the river. Then one day, as she was washing clothes in the river, giant peach came down the river, such a giant peach. She could barely get it to the bank and roll it home. And she washed it off and she thought, that'll do us for supper and breakfast. And she sharpened the knife. And when her husband came home, she said, look at this giant peach. Oh, it's wonderful. And he said, oh, that's brilliant. And just as he took the knife and went to cut, it split open the peach, and out sprang a little boy. Not a baby, but a little boy. And he said, I am here sent by destiny. And they were surprised, but they had plenty of rice, and so they fed him. What they found was he grew and grew and grew. Within a week, he was taller than both of them. Within a month, he was the biggest man in the village. And because they got him from a peach, they called him Momotaro, which means peach boy. He was their little peach boy. And then one day, he said, I'm full grown now. I'm going to fulfill my destiny. I have to go and fight the Oni and return your wealth. And they said, oh, no, don't do it. The Oni are awful. You mustn't go, you mustn't go, you mustn't go, you mustn't go. And he said, it's my quest. I go to fight the Oni. And he set off. He was walking along, and his father had given him a sword, and his mother had made him a banner, and she made him dragon balls, which were like a rice cake with special spices to give you strength. He was walking along, and suddenly, there was a dog. And the dog came running up to him and said, where are you going? And Momotaro said, I'm on my quest to fight the Oni to get my parents' wealth back. And the dog said, oh, I'll come with you. Will Momotaro-san, won't you give me a tasty dragon bun? And Momotaro said, I will give you a tasty dragon bun. Oh, yeah, dragon bun. Come with me, our quest is well begun. And on they went. And then suddenly there was a noise, and it wasn't an old man like me. It was a monkey, and the monkey came swinging out of the trees. And he said, where are you going? And Momotaro said, we're on a quest to fight the Oni and get my parents' wealth. And the monkey said, Momotaro-san, won't you give me, what did he want? A tasty dragon bun. We'll remember that for next time. And Momotaro-san said, I will give you a tasty dragon bun. Come with us, our quest is just begun. And the monkey joined his army to go and fight the Oni. And they walked on, and suddenly there was a wah! And a pheasant came from a very tall pine, and he landed in front and said, wah! Where are you going? It had a voice like a pheasant. And Momotaro said, we're on a quest to fight the Oni and rescue my parents' treasure. And the pheasant said, well, I hope you're going to join in this time. You don't have to unmute unless you want to. But he went, Momotaro-san, won't you give me a tasty dragon
bun?
Yes, Claire, you've got the bun. You can have a bun here. That's all for you. And Momotaro sang, I will give you a tasty dragon bun. Come with us, our quest is well begun. And so they went for days and days until they came to the land of the Oni. And there was the forest. Through the forest, there was the mountain. Up the mountain, through the chasms, there was the castle of the Oni. And the pheasant said, I will fly over the castle and see what's happening. And he took off, flew away, look, like that, and came back and said, the Oni are drinking and fighting each other. If we can get in, we can beat them. And the monkey said, let me through, I will smash down the gates. And he went out, and he said, let's all smash down the gates. And they all had a dragon bun, so they'd all be as strong as they could be. And between the four of them, they smashed down the gates and stormed into the Oni's castle. And the Oni were too drunk to fight properly, and I think even if they hadn't been, they would have been beaten. And in the end, the Oni surrendered, and they gave back all the treasures from Momotaro's parents. And they left, and they went home, And they had the journey right the way back through the chasms, down the mountain, through the forest, miles and miles. And they got home. And Mama Taro said, "I've recovered your treasures." And from that day on, all 4 of them lived with the old man and the old lady, who were very comfortable. And they only never came anywhere near ever again.
That's great stuff. Right, are we out of time? Have we done our have we
Just
entertained long enough? I think it's been a fine evening of the tales of a shrunken head, a bit of story, dragon buns, and industrious workers. Who could want more from a story, from an evening? I know it's not, people who've tuned in here to hear John will be horribly disappointed, but I think we've done our best to entertain in his absence.
I
And a
think we
fine
did very
vest it
well.
was.
Right.
Well, after seeing Mike eating dinner, I'm starting to feel hungry.
Yeah. Yes, I can nibble.
Thank you very much. And I think it's John would normally say thank you to Ali for flying the magic carpet.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Thank you very much to Ali for flying the magic carpet.
And he'd probably say there's a World Story Round on Sunday starting at 7, and that the young international storytellers will be here on Tuesday at 5 o'clock BST.
And it's Sarah Lloyd Winder next Friday at 6.
Yeah.
That should be fabulous.
Right, so it's been lovely to tell with you during an evening.
Bye.
And bye.
I'm going to eat. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Hello. Guy. Guy.
Bye.
Guy.
Hmm?
Guy.
Bye.
I
Guy.
need to.
Okay.
Guy.
What?
Ah.
Right. Bye-bye. Oh, send me a send me a message. Send me you've sent me a message. You sent me a message before. Right.